When Lucas's grandmother passed away, he was tasked with taking care of the country house until it was sold. Isolated in the countryside, the property was old, filled with memories, creaks, and a constant sense of loneliness. But there was one peculiarity, a room that was always locked. His grandmother always said, "Never enter that room, even if you hear noises inside." As a child, he obeyed. But now, as an adult and alone, his curiosity began to erode his common sense like a moth on old wood. On the first night, while organizing some old books, he heard a muffled scratching sound. It seemed to come directly from the locked room. Pressing his ear against the door, he heard a gasping breath, as if someone were suffocating. He tried to turn the doorknob. It was locked. He rummaged through the house until he found an old keyring. When he returned to the room, the door was ajar, and the smell of mold and old meat invaded the hallway. He pushed it slowly. The room was small, with torn wallpaper and an old crib in the center. The curtains were completely still, even though the strong wind outside shook the windows of the entire house. Above the crib, a cloth doll stared at the door with button-sewn eyes. Around it, dozens of children's drawings stuck to the wall depicted the same figure, a faceless boy trapped behind a door. Lucas left the room with his heart racing. That night, he couldn't sleep. In the middle of the night, the crib creaked, but he was alone upstairs. The sound came from downstairs, from the room. He returned with a flashlight. The doll was now on the floor, facing the door, and a new phrase, written on the wall with something dark brown, said, "You woke me up." In the following days, Lucas began to have nightmares, always with the same faceless boy, crawling across the ceiling of the locked room and murmuring, "See me, hear me, let me out." The atmosphere of the house worsened. Cracks appeared out of nowhere. Objects changed places. The clock stopped exactly at 3:33 a.m. And the strangest thing, Lucas began to hear laughter from under the bed. He decided to close the room and lock it again. But as he turned the key, the door opened by itself. In the crib, there was now a child, or something that looked like a child. A small body, but the eyes were his own. He ran to the road, but his car wouldn't start. Looking in the rearview mirror, he saw the faceless boy sitting in the back seat. He turned abruptly. Nothing, but the smell of the room was now everywhere. Desperate, he tried to destroy the room. He used gasoline, struck matches, but the fire went out by itself, as if the room refused to die, and the drawings returned to the wall on their own. That night, Lucas heard his grandmother whispering in his ear, even though she had been dead for days. "Now you are the new guardian. He is awake, and you freed him." Lucas disappeared days later. The house was put up for sale. The new family found everything normal, until their 5-year-old daughter pointed to the hallway and said, "Daddy, the man in the crib wants to play with me." The room is still there, now always unlocked, and every morning at 3:33, the cloth doll appears in a different room of the house, with a note pinned to its arm, handwritten, "You woke me up. Now it's your turn to take care of him." The forgotten cemetery on the border between two small towns forgotten by time. There was a dirt road that ended at a large fallen sign. On it, one could barely read, "Municipal Cemetery, Property of Silence," a place that had not appeared on maps since 1989. Mateus was a photographer of abandoned places. He loved capturing the silence of the dead. Upon learning of the existence of the forgotten cemetery, he decided to do a photo shoot there for a personal project, The End of Forgotten Things. Upon arrival, he found rusty gates covered in vegetation. He jumped over the wall and, as he entered, felt a strange sensation that the wind had stopped. No sound, no insects, no leaves, a silence that pressed against his ears. He began to photograph. Cracked tombstones, faded names, crosses turned upside down. But one grave in particular caught his attention. It was intact. On it, an old photo showed a young woman with extremely light eyes. Name, Lucia de Avila. 1907 to 1928. As he took the first photo of the grave, the camera turned off by itself. When he turned it back on, he saw that the image had been captured, but something was wrong. In the background, someone in a white dress appeared behind the tombstone. Startled, he looked around. Nothing, but the image was clear. There was no distortion. He decided to delete the photo, but the button simply wouldn't work. The image seemed trapped, alive. He began to hear footsteps among the tombstones, light dragging steps. When he turned to run, he saw that the gates had disappeared. The cemetery was now a labyrinth of gravestones, and the sky was darkening quickly. A whispered voice began to call for him. "Mateus, you saw my photo. Now you belong to me." The voice was feminine, dragging, as if it came from the earth, from the roots, from the very broken marble of the tombs. He tried to send his location via cell phone. No signal, but strangely, the message icon showed an active conversation with the name Lucia. The only message received said, "Return to my grave and look closely." With no way out, he returned to the grave. And when he got there, he almost fell back. The photo on the tombstone now showed his face and Lucia hugging him from behind, but he had never touched there. Desperate, he screamed for help, but all he heard were distant screams coming from beneath the earth. The gravestones began to tremble, and skeletal hands emerged from the ground around him, trying to rise. He ran among the tombstones, but everything seemed to repeat. He always returned to the same place, as if he were trapped in a cycle, a spell. Lucia now appeared in the photos on the camera from every angle, always closer. He stumbled and fell into an open, deep grave that hadn't been there before. At the edge, a newly placed tombstone with his full name, Mateus Oliveira, 1996 today. He screamed, trying to grab onto something, but cold hands emerged from the earth and pulled him violently. The last thing he saw before fading away was Lucia's face, smiling with rotten teeth and eyes white as milky glass. Days later, explorers in the area found his camera lying among the leaves. All the photos were there, except one, the one of Lucia's grave. In its place, a video file. "Smile, you are now part of the silence." Today, if you search for the Cemetery of the Border on Google Maps, it appears for just a second before disappearing. But if you look closely, you will see a blinking red dot over a grave. And sometimes it blinks back.